Hello everyone and welcome to this week's behind the scenes devlog video, and this week I'm mostly going to be working on adding some birds into Equilinox. But before I get started with that, there are just a couple of other things that I need to do, the first of which is to create a tomato plant for the game. Just finished all of the model stages for the tomato plant, and you can see one growing in the world here. And next up today, I'm going to do some work on the UI. This morning I've been making various little updates to the UI. So firstly, in the music tab, I rearranged a few things to make a bit more space for the list of tracks, which is going to go here as soon as I finish programming the new music file loader. I've also been trying out a few different fonts for the game because I was never overly happy with the previous font. So I've just been trying out a few different options. The one that I've got here is definitely not my final choice or anything, it just happened to be the last one that I was trying. And I also added a very slight fade out animation to the tooltips when they get removed from the screen. For the rest of the morning today, I've been doing some extremely boring work trying to update the language file, which needs to contain all of the text in Equilinox so that it can be translated into other languages. And you may remember that I've had this language sheet set up since the very start of development on Equilinox, but unfortunately I've been very lazy using it, and I hard-coded most of the text into the code, which means of course that now I have to go through all of the code and extract all the text and put it into this file, which is what I've been doing this morning. So this afternoon I've been going on a bit of a model making spree, and I'm trying to create a lot of the models for the animals in Equilinox. So first I created this toucan model, which is going to be one of the birds that I add into the game this week. Also I made a list of all of the animals that I still need to make models for. It looks quite long, but a lot of these are just going to be slight modifications of other models that I've already made. So for example, this wolf model is obviously pretty similar to the snow wolf that I already have in the game. Also the desert hare, which I just made, is pretty similar to the rabbit. And I also made a crocodile. All afternoon today I've just been making animal models, and I've got a few more to show you now. So firstly there's this duck model, there's also a new toad, which is obviously just a variation of the frog model, and finally I made this very colourful fish. To start off the day today, I've been creating one more bird model, as you can see here, and now I'm going to start creating all of the younger versions for the birds, and then I'll start adding them into the game. So the baby bird models are now all finished. As you can see here, I've created one for each of the 3 birds, and now I'm going to get started with exporting these models and getting them converted into the Equilinox file format. So the new birds are all in the game now, and at the moment they're just using the movement from other animals because I haven't created any movement specifically for them yet. So over here you can see the ducks, which are using the chickens movement. Over here we've got the sparrows, and they're using the butterfly movement, and the toucans over here are also just using the butterfly movement. It is 3 o'clock now, and this afternoon I'm going to be working on the bird's movements, so I've been planning that out and I just started implementing it as well. But I'm going to take a bit of a break now to go to the supermarket and get some food for dinner. So I have now implemented a very basic bird movement, and it's pretty similar to the butterfly's movement at the moment. So when the bird is below a certain height, it flaps its wings. Well, flap might be a bit of a strong word, but it moves up to a higher height and then it glides down like this, and then when it gets below the lower height again, it will flap and get higher, and that repeats over and over. So obviously I've still got a lot of work to do on this. I want to make it a bit more realistic. It's kind of hard though without being able to make the wings move, but I think this is a good start. So this morning I'm working on allowing birds to land on things like trees, which is a little bit more difficult than it sounds because the bird movement is pretty much all physics based. They basically move around like projectiles being affected by gravity and all that, and all that I do is apply an upwards acceleration when they get below a certain height, which is what makes them go up again. So to get them to land on a specific position, a specific point in the world, I have to calculate trajectories and things like that, which is what I've been trying to do this morning. I've been making progress slowly, but I'm going to take a bit of a break from it now because it's starting to get the better of me and my head's starting to hurt. So I'm going to de-stress by making a new tree. Just finished creating a couple of new trees for Equilinox, including this new spiral tree, which I just this minute finished. So now I'm going to have a bit of lunch, and then this afternoon I'll get back to work on the bird flying stuff. Back to work on the birds now, but before I can program them to land on something, I actually need something for them to land on. So I've been creating a perch component which can be added to trees, and this indicates where on the tree the birds can actually land. So it basically indicates where the branches are, and the perch component is just a list of 3D positions, and each 3D position indicates a point on the tree where birds can land. So for example, for this new tree here, I've just added this into the game, and I've indicated that birds can land on this branch here. So hopefully when the birds try to land on this tree, they'll aim for this point. So it's taken pretty much all afternoon, but I have now finally got the birds landing on the correct position on the tree. So for example, for this sparrow here, I've got control of it, and I can indicate that it should land on that tree over there by pressing the E key. So if I do that now, you can see that it automatically turns towards the target. It maintains a steady altitude which is slightly above the target position, and then when it gets close enough to the tree, it will glide down and hopefully land perfectly on that branch. Obviously the landing needs a little bit of work. It doesn't look particularly comfortable up there, but all the maths is working, all the tricky stuff is done, so that's all good. So this morning I'm of course working on the birds again, and I've just been doing a bit more work on the landing, trying to make it look a little bit more graceful. So now when the bird gets close to the branch, it corrects its rotation so that it lands standing up. So you can see that happening here, and you can see that it now lands perfectly standing up on the branch. Just been trying to fix an issue with the birds, with them not being able to land if they start the landing process when they're too close to the tree. So for this bird here, if I tell it to start landing now, you can see that it tries, but then it realizes that it can't because it was too close to the tree, so it actually moves away and then has another go. And you can see that this time it landed perfectly. So this will mean that wherever the bird is when it starts deciding to land, it will always make the landing. 1 o'clock now, just stopping for a bit of lunch, and I've also been making the younger versions for this new tree model. It is 4 o'clock, and I've just been making some changes to the bird's AI so that they now and again just randomly land on nearby trees, like you can see this bird just did here. And they'll sit on the branch for a while and then they'll leave. Also, you can see I added a second perch spot to this tree, and I also made sure that birds won't land on a perch spot if another bird is already there. Just added the new spiral tree into the game, as you can see here, and I've also allowed birds to land on this tree as well. And I've also given the birds a slight rocking movement when they're sitting on the tree, just so that they're not completely stationary, because that looks a little bit weird. To finish off the day, I've just been creating a model for a nest, which the birds will hopefully be able to build in trees and then lay eggs in them, and I'm going to work on that tomorrow. Good morning everyone, it is 7 o'clock on a lovely sunny Friday morning, and today I'm going to be working on the nest creating ability of the birds, but before I do that I want to start off this beautiful day by going for a jog in the park. Getting started today by creating the models for the various stages of nest creation, and I'm just about to export these from Blender and add them into the game, and then hopefully all I should have to do is to add a build component to the birds, and then they should be able to build nests. So I've added the nests into the game now, and at the moment they just work exactly like the hives and the bees. So the birds will visit the nest every now and again, and every time they do they'll build it a bit, and as the nest gets built it changes model stage, so it gets bigger and bigger, and then eventually the birds start laying eggs in it. Obviously at the moment the nest is on the floor, which is not something that I want, so I'm going to make some changes to the build component and hopefully get the birds to make the nests in the trees. It is 10 o'clock and I have now got the birds building their nests in the trees, so if a bird doesn't have a nest it will fly into a tree and create one like this bird has just done here, and then over time the birds will keep visiting the nest, it will keep building it, making it bigger, and once the nest is fully built it will be able to lay some eggs in it. At the moment these eggs don't actually do anything, they don't hatch or anything, but obviously at some point they will. But yeah, the basics of this are all working now. Obviously I've still got lots to improve with this, I've still got loads to improve with the bird movement and AI in general, but I'm going to do that next week because I need to get started with editing this video now, and then at the weekend I'm going to be working on the tutorial. So this afternoon, as I said earlier, I'm just going to be working on editing this behind the scenes devlog video, and then over the weekend I'm going to be working on the next tutorial. So for this week that is pretty much it. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a fantastic week and I will see you all next time.